Well, I am here today with Dayne Rusch, the CEO and founder of Vyper Energies and Vyper Industrial, a young entrepreneur, 27 years old. I can barely remember Dayne 27, but I'm so excited to have you here today on the podcast. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This gonna be awesome.
So you are a Green Bay resident, and tell us about your background, where you had gone to school, and how you became an entrepreneur at such a young age.
Yeah, grew up actually in Two Rivers. I don't know, Two Rivers, Manitowoc area. Very small town boy with my brother as well. He's 3 years older. Went to UW Oshkosh, graduated there with a degree in finance and a minor in IT. And throughout college, I was always working on kind of side projects, some apps, and other miscellaneous things. And none of them really worked out, but I learned a lot from it. But graduated in 2018. Then it was about a year, and I didn't really know what I was doing. Then my dad presented an idea with Vyper Industrial, which I'm sure we'll talk into.
Yep.
But that's where I came from, UW Oshkosh. Had that entrepreneur spirit. Parents had that same thing, so it started when I was young.
Now, your dad was a business owner himself, correct?
Correct, yep.
And so at a young age, you felt like you were entrepreneurial minded, and then you just took that forward in college and started trying different things. And then tell us about the opportunity your dad presented to you a year after you graduated from college and where you have gone with it.
Yeah, right on. So a quick little snippet of my dad. So he founded Rusch Machine and Design. They made special manufacturing machines that would fabricate metal for tube benders, tube shapers. So my brother and I, when we were growing up, we always were around that entrepreneur spirit. So I think from a young age, that's where we had a massive advantage. And what has helped us become so successful is we were always around it.
Yeah.
We didn't know anything different. But after college, I was working on a few app projects. All of them ended up failing. But again, like I said, I learned a ton from it. But my dad was always a garage guy. He was always an auto enthusiast, always out in the shop. And one of his biggest pain points in the garage was the chair he was using.
Okay.
So he was welding, fabricating, working on his car. And as he got older, his back started to hurt, his knees started to hurt. And when he would roll, he would tip over and fall over and hurt his elbows and his knees, and he was getting injured.
Okay.
Being the engineer he was, he's like, why don't I make my own chair? I'm going to make my own American-made, robust chair that doesn't tip, doesn't break. And he pieced it together with some parts that he had sitting around. And next thing you know, he built the first Vyper chair.
Okay.
And my brother and I came up north one weekend. We saw it, and we're like, that thing is awesome. And
now I have not worked in a shop. I have no skill in that regard. What makes your chair so superior that you have, and we're going to go over this in a little bit, a really impressive client list?
Thank you.
What makes your chair better than the traditional shop chair?
Yeah, so what we did is we took all the problems he was experiencing and built a chair around that versus saying, hey, we want a chair around this price point, and made a chair around that price point.
I see.
So his main problems were tipping, knee, and back pain.
Okay.
And what we did was design it with a wider base and with 5 wheels. So that helps with stability, so you can roll and maneuver quickly. And he's like, no other chairs have a backrest. So we added a backrest to ours.
Okay.
And it's at the perfect angle, too, where it relieves your lower back pain. And then the other thing, we're like, let's do some ergonomic designs to this. So we made it where the adjustable height is always at a degree where your knees are at a 90.
Okay.
So that relieves all the tension from your knees while you're sitting and working throughout the day. So that's what makes our chairs different, where there's actually science and thought behind it, where other chairs are just in it for the margins.
Right. So they say we want to make a $50 chair, and then they make the best chair they can make for $50.
Correct.
You guys said we're going to make the best chair. We don't care what the cost is, and it's going to be what it's going to be, and we'll see who buys it.
Exactly. Yep.
Did you have to bring in engineers or anybody like that to help you design the chair? Was it just strictly based on your dad's intellect and working in the shop all those years?
Yeah, my dad's intellect. That's where I said we have a massive advantage, is he had that engineering background.
Okay.
And being 25 years in the shop, he knew what he wanted to see out of a chair. So he went into it, designing it, and I think there was like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 iterations of it. So it wasn't the first design, that was it. It was constant improvement over and over. And we're always improving it to this day.
Yeah. Your client list, some of your clients and companies that you've worked with, Tesla, SpaceX, Honda. I know Jay Leno has one.
Yep.
Tell us how you got into these companies and how that worked for you.
Yeah, so very early on, we brought on our third member to the team, his name is Alex. Alex is our brand and partnerships, and he's down in Orlando. He is the relationship wizard, we call him. He's able to build relationships with anybody, and when he sees somebody, he looks at who they're connected to, and he slowly but surely gets in through to that end destination that he wants. So the Jay Leno, like all that stuff has been working in the last 2 to 3 years. So that wasn't something where he just contacted us. We've been slowly chipping away to get to that level, along with all the other big contacts that we have.
And how do you market your chair? Do you spend a lot of money on marketing? Is it word of mouth? Is it leveraging your client bases? Tell us about that.
Yeah, good question. We use heavily in the beginning, we were focused on direct to consumer. So you'd run your average Facebook campaigns, email campaigns, Google. But throughout the last year and a half, we focused on companies like SpaceX and Tesla and GM and GE. And they're looking more for the business side of things where their employees are sitting on chairs throughout the entire day. And we twisted it in a way of, hey, look at how much cost it's costing you if you have an employee that's out for a week or a day because of back or knee pain or they tipped over on their chair. So once we found that aspect of a selling point and how our chairs can benefit these companies, we hired on 3 people for our sales team directly for B2B.
Okay.
So now we're about 50-50 direct to consumer and business to business, looking to grow more on the business to business side.
Before we talk about the new company and your new launch, talk about your biggest struggle that you found as a young entrepreneur with Vyper Industrial.
Good question. My biggest struggle, I would say, is continuing to go day in and day out and quieting out the noise of today's social media. I think that's one thing the younger generation has a massive problem with, is comparing their lives and what other people are doing on social media to theirs and making adjustments to their own life to fit somebody else's.
Yeah.
And I would say that was a massive issue or hurdle I had to overcome in the beginning, was quit ignoring what all these people are doing and just focus on myself.
Yeah.
And
well, so much of what people post and are doing online is fake anyways.
It is.
Everyone crafts something to make themselves look better, crafts their product to look better. It's so hard. Photoshops their pictures. You know, it's tough, I think, harder for young people today because there's just such a push with all that. And people think everyone else's lives are so amazing. They look so good. Their products are so good because there's so much false information out there and photoshopping and the rest. You know, that is tough. Okay, well, let's switch gears now because there's something very exciting happening with you and a second company, Vyper Energies. And it's an energy drink. You found, I guess, what you would consider a niche in the energy drink market that you could swoop in and make a difference in. Tell us about how you got there, why you got there, and why Vyper Energies is going to be the next best energy drink.
Yeah, so while we were building up Vyper Industrial, my brother and I and the entire team, we were always drinking energy drinks. We're caffeine addicts. We need to continue to go. I'm sure
I've never had one.
Actually. Oh, you haven't?
No, I'm a little strange fact about me is I've never had a cup of coffee.
Nice.
I have never had an energy drink. I'm one of these weird human beings. I don't set an alarm. I'm just internally motivated, I guess. And I have that energy. So I'm just a weird human. So I don't know anything about energy drinks and a lot of the caffeine stuff because I don't do it. But go ahead.
Great. We'll teach you some right now. Yeah. So while we're growing the business, we were always coffee guys, energy drink guys, and I'm a type 1 diabetic. So when I was drinking even the sugar-free and carb-free energy drinks that these bigger brands would say, my blood sugar was spiking. So I have something called Dexcom. So it's right here. It Bluetooth connects to my phone. So I can every single second I can see where my blood sugar's at.
Okay.
And I would watch it in real time. I would drink an energy drink that claims to be healthy and sugar-free. And within 10 or 15 minutes, my blood sugar would spike up. And I started doing research on the ingredients that they're using, and I noticed it was preservatives, artificial flavoring, artificial dyes, and colors that they're using to make it taste as good as it did. So with the brand we were building with Vyper, we said, 1, Vyper is a great name for an energy drink.
Yeah.
And 2, we have a massive following, so why don't we give this a shot? So I always live by the thought of I never want to be in my deathbed wishing that I did.
Yeah.
And I'd also be frustrated if somebody else did the same thing that I wanted to do. So I'm like, let's give it a shot. Who knows? If it works, great. If it doesn't, then we still have Vyper Industrial to continue to pursue. So we hired a nutritionist. He's a U.S. vet as well from the military. and brought him on board full time. So he formulated an energy drink that has all 9 essential amino acids, it has vitamins, and it has no artificial flavorings, no colors, no dyes, nothing artificial in it. So it's more of like a supplement energy drink versus just your typical energy drink.
Okay, tell me about that. I don't know what that means. A
So-
supplement energy drink versus a typical energy
Yeah,
drink.
so
Tell me about
essentially there's nutritional benefit to actually drinking Vyper Energy.
that. Okay.
Like I was saying, there's all 9 essential amino acids. So as humans, we are deficient in some ingredients, some nutrition, and all 9 essential amino acids will help you get to that levels that you need for your vitamins, et cetera, et
I
cetera.
see.
And not only that, but we have something in there called L-theanine. So L-theanine is more of a nootropic that helps you get tunnel vision focus. So with this being a natural, healthy energy drink, it's more sustained energy throughout the day, and your body burns it naturally, and you'll slowly come down. Where all the other energy drinks are 300 milligrams of caffeine, that gives you a massive spike. You get jittery, your heart starts pulsing, and then you come crashing down. You're like, I'm tired. I'm gonna drink another one. So you drink another one, you come right back up, and you come down. You wonder why you're not getting good sleep, why your mood's bad, and it just causes a lot of problems throughout the future.
Does any government agency or anybody have to review your product, what's inside it before you go to market with that? Tell us about that.
Yep. So we have a FDA attorney that will take a look at the label and all the ingredients in it just to make sure that it obeys with any laws or regulations that are out there today. But this isn't factual, but to my knowledge, United States has a lesser restrictions on what consumers can consume versus other countries out there in the world.
And as far as you know, you're going to be the first all-natural energy drink.
Yep.
That's amazing.
So one thing with it too, have you ever heard of the app Yuka?
No.
This isn't a paid sponsor. I just love their app.
Okay.
It's YUKA, and you can scan any barcode in the grocery store, and you can see what that product rates out of 100.
Okay.
And it'll break down if there's any additives, preservatives, anything bad in there for you. So even when you scan the healthy energy drinks that are out there on the market, they come in as 30, 32 with still artificial ingredients in it. So what they'll do is they'll say no artificial flavoring, but that doesn't mean they don't have artificial coloring or dyes or sweeteners in it. So it's deceiving.
Yeah, and it's funny because as I was looking through the stuff, my crack staff was getting ready so I could talk to you today. My wife had sent me a TikTok because I'm I drink a lot of LaCroix and those type of sparkling waters. And it talked about in the TikTok that they put on the label of those sparkling waters all natural flavors, like you were just saying.
Yep.
And then what they said is what they're not telling you, although it says all natural flavors, they can still have thousands of chemicals inside there for taste.
Exactly.
Is that what you were just telling me and describing?
Exactly. So, and that's not only with beverages, that's with anything in the grocery store. So I challenge you, next time you go to the grocery store, you and your wife, download this app and buy what you would normally buy, but scan it first.
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff you might think is healthy from the big brands, and I guarantee it's not. It'll come in at like 20, 30, 40 out of 100. And you'll wake up, you'll be like, holy man, this is not good for me.
Right.
You know, it's nuts. My wife and I cut it in half.
So when I'm eating my healthy Reese's peanut butter cup, when I scan that, it's going to show me something that I really don't want to see.
Yeah, so probably don't scan that. keep that one alone.
We talked earlier about Vyper Industrial and the biggest challenge you faced. I noticed something in your podcast or in your website about how you were going to come to market and then you picked a certain date and that date didn't happen. Can you talk about the challenging aspects of launching a new product like you did and what you learned as a young business owner in that process?
Yeah. What we learned is my brother and I always say it is you have to wear your nut cup every day.
Yeah.
And because you never know the challenges or what's going to happen, but typically something happens throughout every single day. So we had a launch date ready to go, and we use a middleman company to do our purchasing in the beginning. So they would source all the materials, send it to the packager, and we had a date set in stone. But the 2 days before that date, we got a notification from the co-packer saying, hey, we don't have all the ingredients. And one of the ingredients we don't have is 11-week lead time to get. So we contact the middleman company, and they're saying, well, there must have been a purchasing error. We might have forgot to purchase it. And that delayed us over, I think it was another month and a half or 2 months to get that production. Then we get to production, and we realize that when our cans are coming through the line, it needs to go through heat treatment. And the top of the lids started chipping. So the ingredient labels started chipping. It was due to one of the processes we used to get the print on the can.
Okay.
And it couldn't withstand the heat. So we had to cancel that production run. We had about 1,000 cans that were all chipped. We just gave those to our employees, said, drink it as much as you want. And then another 2 weeks later, we finally got it produced and out of the tank. So it's nonstop.
Yeah. And as a business owner, and as I've known, I've been doing this for 30 years, and obviously you're going to find out stuff always happens.
Always.
I mean, you just have to be prepared, deal with it, come up with solutions. The other thing that I think is really interesting that you said, and I want to, expand on it just a second here, is you said you tried these things in college, you tried some other things, and you failed. Well, I tell all of our people here, if we're not failing 50% of the time in trying our marketing ideas and other things, we're not trying hard enough.
Exactly.
If anyone out there listening to our podcast or young entrepreneurs like you think that everything we try is going to be successful, they're in for a rude awakening, because It just isn't going to be that. And the people that succeed are the ones that can, after they fail, they can learn from the failure, try something else, fail again. I went through a period of time where in 6 months I lost 6 straight trials.
Dang.
Happens. It's not that I would have done anything different. You try tough cases, but you got to keep trying. You got to keep going back out there. You can't be afraid. You got to learn from your failures and then turn them into positives and things you do.
Yep.
Where can somebody buy your energy drinks?
They can buy the energy drinks at vyperenergy.com. That's VYPER Energy. We're also looking to get more into distribution and retail. So if there's any grocery stores or gas stations out there looking to stock a healthy Wisconsin-made energy drink, give me a contact along with some distributors as well.
You talked about your cans having that defect in production. Was there ever a discussion where you were deciding between can or bottle?
Yes and no. So to give you a little background, there's 3 different ways you can get your print on a can. One is called digitally printed. So it's a new technology where I'm not really quite sure how it works, but it digitally prints it on the can. Then there's sleeves where it's a pre-printed sleeve that just goes on, it gets heat treated and wrapped around it. Then there's something called simply printed. So that's like if you ever see a Busch can or a Coors Light, your bigger brands like Pepsi, those are typically higher order quantities in the millions. So as a startup company, you almost have to work your way through those stages to get to that higher order quantity.
I see. So you put it on the most economical way to get it out there first, and as things improve and you sell more product, then you
exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So now we're at the middle stage, hopefully getting to the print stage.
So we have Vyper Industrial, we have Vyper Energies, and I've also seen you're doing a podcast. How did you decide you wanted to do a podcast? I think it's been going for a little over a month, right? Or 2 months.
Yep.
I watched parts of some of your episodes last night getting prepared. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
It's exciting. What made you want to do that? I know before we started, you said you did a little of that in college, but tell us about the purpose of doing the podcast.
Yeah, podcast is just something that's always been on my mind. I felt like I love to be in front of people, and I always want to help somebody get to that next level. So you were saying if there's any young entrepreneurs listening, that's similar to who I want to build that podcast for, are those that are in the early stages. So while Dylan and I were building up the business, we noticed the podcasts we were listening to were from people that already made it. And they're giving you very broad details of how they got through things. So I saw an opportunity. I'm like, let's talk about the true details of how we got from our first employee all the way to now 40 employees in a 45,000 square foot facility.
Yeah.
And then once we get caught up to there, let's walk the customer through every single journey that we're going through until we become that household name brand. And like Jeff Bezos, all the big guys never documented their story coming up. So I'm like, that'd be really cool to document it and talk about the nitty gritty, our relationships, how do we pay our first employee, what the bank account looked like, the true details of it. Because if I listened to a podcast talking about detail like that when I was in the early stages, I would have felt way more comfortable knowing that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's a great point. I barely remember what I had for lunch yesterday, let alone what I did 30 years ago when I started here. And I actually wish I would have done more of that, because you just forget it all over time. And how nice it'll be for you to look back, when you're my age, in my mid-50s, looking back and seeing those initial struggles. That's really awesome. What's really, really impressive, what you've done at such a young age. Is there one, and I know it's hard to pick one, but is there one piece of advice that you would give another young person who wants to start a business, who is entrepreneurial, the one piece of advice that you learned that you want to tell other people?
Yeah, like you said, there's a million advices, but I would say it's not going to be easy. And you can take that as broad or as simple as you want, and just knowing that every single day you're going to face challenges, and those challenges are massive opportunities because that is going to grow you to the next level. And in order to get to that next level, you must go through those challenges. So relating back to the can problem that we ran into, I'm so thankful that that happened looking back at it now, because we made all the contacts we needed in the beverage industry to get that next production run ready. We knew what not to do so that we can make sure now when we're at 1 million cans that we won't make those same problems. And this one looked way smaller once you see the bigger picture of why it happened. But
seems terrible at the time because you said to people we're going to be out on this day, and then you have to go back and you're again delayed, and but people understand, and that's just the way it is. Life throws curveballs.
Exactly. So just one last thing to tie off that I would say is what you're going through, any problem, not even business related, anything you're going through in life, whether it's a divorce, you lost your house, you're not making money, whatever it may be, is temporary if you allow it to be temporary. And what you're going through is you're going through for a reason. You just haven't seen why yet. Once you get to that point and you look back, you will be so thankful of why you went through that, because you are a much smarter or healthier or wiser, financially secure individual at this later point.
And I would say nothing good in life comes easy.
Nothing.
And the harder you work, the more you appreciate and the more you keep driving every day.
Yep.
I want to have our listeners know how to find you. Is the best place to go to your website?
Yeah.
And why don't you say your website, say your contacts, so people, if they want to reach out to you, know how to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Our website is, for the chairs, it's vyperindustrial.com. That's VYPER for everything. And then for energy, it's Vyper Energy. Otherwise, you can follow me on Instagram at Dayne Rusch, DayneRusch.
And before I let you go, every guest on my podcast is put in what we call the Hupy hot seat, where we asked a few multiple choice questions just for fun about safety, since we are personal injury lawyers by trade. Today, just based on how you started with a shop chair, we have this kind of being a work comp shop edition. So I'm going to ask you a few fun questions, see if you know the answers. I don't know the questions. I don't know the answers. So we're just going to go through them together. So here's question number 1. Since Vyper Industrial's main clientele includes workshops and factories, we're going to play Hupy Hot Seat Shop Safety Edition. Question 1. Approximately how many workshop injuries are reported each year from private industries? 500,000? A, B, about 1.5 million, or C, about 2.5 million?
I'd say C.
You're right, 2.5 million. Crazy that many.
It's insane.
I mean, it's just sad.
It's insane.
Question 2. Which of the following is not a common safety hazard in a workshop or factory setting? Trailing wires and cables, A, B, confined spaces, or C, working with a group of people?
B?
Actually, it's C, working with a group
of
people. Don't know why. Oh, wait, here I do. They gave me the answer. Thank you, team. I have the answer why. Working with a group of people is recommended rather than working alone, because if there is an accident, you're able to receive help from those around you. I don't know.
Got it.
Last but not least, what is the most common injury among those who work in shops and factories? A, slip and falls. B, being hit by falling objects. C, cuts and lacerations.
I'd say A.
You are right. A, slip and falls. Slips, trip, and falls account for 1/3 of all the personal injuries in workshops, and they are a top cause of workers' compensation claims. You did a great job.
That's
2 out of
awesome.
3. My last podcast guest got 0 out of 3.
Hey, we're making moves.
So, Dayne, I just want to say thank you so much for coming. This was a great episode. I'm really impressed, really, at your age, to do what you've done. It's very impressive. Your website is impressive. Your products are impressive. I love that you focus on your family. When I looked at your website and I see your whole family on there, I think that's amazing. Yeah. You have a bright future. I know it. As an entrepreneur, I was always a big dreamer. I can remember when I was 5, 6, 7 years old saying I was going to be a lawyer and I was going to do this or that. And I dreamed big. And to be honest, I couldn't have never dreamed this big. You know, I'm so proud of everyone I've worked with, my staff. And I'm so humbled to understand that there's so much luck in timing. If I can give you a great piece of advice, throughout your successful career, it's going to be humble,
Mm-hmm.
because you cannot be successful without the hard work and talent of so many other people.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace their talents, let them do their thing, and just compliment them with all the smarts you have. You are undoubtedly going to be a very successful person, and I'm thankful that you came here with me today.
Well, thank you very much for those kind words. I greatly appreciate it, and it's inspiring to see what you built here. This is amazing. You guys are all over working with some of the biggest names, biggest brands, and it's just humbling to be able to be here right now. So thank you for that.